First of all, Michael, just want to say what an honor it is to get to talk to you today.
Glad to talk to you as well.
Yeah, I was one of the people who saw it at Fantastic Fest in the theaters.
So
It was-
lucky.
Yeah, it was
I
an
could have been
incredible
there.
experience. Yes. I went again this morning to watch it again to get ready for this interview. So it's all fresh in my mind, ready to go. Great work. Congratulations on it.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
My first question is, when you first became involved with the conception of this project, did you immediately start working on the music or another aspect of the film that now
You know
y'all
what?
had directed?
I didn't immediately start working on it. I as we got closer to shooting, I started writing some stuff for it because I had a much more of a handle on what it was at that point. In the very beginning, you're still sort of figuring out what this thing is, and you're figuring out characters, you're figuring out story, all of that. But once we got into sort of close to shooting, I started feeling like I understood what it was more than I had in the beginning. So I did start writing, and I did write that main theme, which I had with me while we were shooting, and I was able to kind of, play it as an idea. Here's something that I'm thinking of. Here's what it's going to feel like, and it was very helpful to have that on set. And I also had other, music that I had written for other things that I was able to say tonally, this is what it's going to feel like, and I'm able to play something for the actors and say, here's the tone, here's what the feeling is. And it really helps everyone sort of get on the same page together. It was very helpful, actually.
Perfect. Well, yeah, you do have a vast portfolio that you could work from when looking for the. So I want to know, what was the process like when deciding to go for a practical effects driven look for Jack's werewolf transformation?
Well, we worked with an incredible makeup company called K&B Effects. And they are just the best. If you look them up, you'll see everything they've done. They're unbelievable. K&B. But from the very beginning, I knew I wanted it to be practical. I wanted it to be someone that was there on set in that costume, that it felt real and it felt tangible. I was worried about going in a direction of a CG sort of feel, which didn't feel right to me. It just felt like, I don't know. It's hard enough to attach yourself to something that is real and fantastical as a werewolf, but then to do it as a CG thing, it just felt wrong to me. And I have such a love and respect and affinity for those old Universal monster movies. I love those. I love Hammer movies. I love the monster movies that came out of Japan. I love all of that stuff. And the thing they all had in common was practical effects, and those, every one of those films still stick with me to this day. Because your brain doesn't have to do the extra work of telling you that something on screen is real. It's actually, it is real, and along those lines, it was also, I wanted to do real sets. I wanted everything there in front of them. The maze was all on one sound stage, completely there. The rotunda, everything was there, so we did very little in terms of visual effects because I wanted the actors just to be in the middle of it, and just to absorb it. And we had such a short shooting schedule that was important for me to be able to just get that feeling.
Yeah, super refreshing from a special effects standpoint. Very refreshing project. Okay, so I'm going to list off some names for you. Charlie Chaplin, Clint Eastwood, John Carpenter. Those are just a few very famous examples of directors who also made music for their films. So I wanted to ask you, which of those names do you relate to or admire the most? Or is there another that I didn't list whose work you
every one of
them when it comes to directing and composition?
Every one of them. I love every one of them. Charlie Chaplin, of course, Smile. He wrote Smile, which is like one of the great songs of the world. John Carpenter. I mean, Halloween, come on, let's go. Like what there's absolutely nothing wrong with what he did. And that original score is just incredible. I have such respect for him. And then Clint Eastwood, to me, is like a movie making machine. That guy, I don't know how he does it. It's just boom, 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 one after the other. And even to this day, he's still doing it. Like I love his enthusiasm and his passion and his love for what he does. Like, and that shines through. And the fact that he's also writing music for them as well, it's beautiful. And he does write beautiful music. So I love them. I think they're inspirations. And for me, on this, like, there was never a version of it that I wasn't going to score, because even if I didn't direct this thing, it would have been something I would have wanted to score. So I just knew from the beginning And I think that if I had worked with a different composer on this, I probably would have driven them crazy, because I knew too much what I wanted in my head for this. So
Just over the shoulder, like, oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, move that note down. Yeah, that would it would have been a bad experience.
That's awesome. Okay, so at this point, you have an extensive working relationship with Marvel Studios. So would you consider taking on any other directorial efforts for them, whether it be another TV special or a feature-length project? Is that something you'd be interested in?
Hey, I'm open to anything. We did this in terms of this was for us like a big experiment. Let's see what we can do with this and see what happens and see how it unfolds. And I think there's going to be a time where we're going to look at this now and go, well, now what? I don't know. Now what? What do we do now? Because you're so focused on getting the thing done at the time when you're working on it. You're not thinking about like, all right, the next thing up right after this is going to be something else. Like there's no time to think about that. So now there's some time to reflect on it, look at it, and see what we want to do. But in terms of working with them, they're like family to me. I love working with them. I've worked with them for years, and it's just such a thrill and a joy to be able to work with people that you really feel a collaboration with, and you're able to all be creative together to create these things. And it's a great experience. It's a great place to be. I feel very lucky.
Great. My next question is, what was your favorite shot or sequence to work on when making this project, whether it be from a musical standpoint or direct or photography standpoint? Anything?
There were two shots that I worked on really hard that I knew from the beginning I wanted. One was the shot of the transformation when Elsa's in the cage and we're pushing in towards her and we see his shadow behind her. That was all done in camera. That was not a visual effects shot. It took a lot of work to make that happen. And it started all in storyboards. I worked with a storyboard artist named Ken Perkins, who is one of my favorites ever. And he and I worked on that shot, and also the hallway shot when the camera's moving towards the door, the closing door. And those were very difficult shots to plan out because they were going to happen on set. Like we had to film them happening. It wasn't going to be a CG thing. And the stunt people did an unbelievable job. And, wearing the costume of the werewolf, it is hot in that thing. It is really, really
I can imagine.
So we only got 2 takes of that, that was it, and it was very, they're both very difficult shots to pull off. But between, the planning, the storyboarding, and then Joe Farrell's visual effects team to help us figure out any other little things we needed to get done on those shots, to me, were the most fun and the most satisfying in the whole film.
They were certainly satisfying to watch. Absolutely. It was terrifying, transformation scene. Okay, my last question for you, Michael, is ManThing was a big hit with my audience. Every time he was on screen after something happened, claps all around. It was incredible. So are there any other cult favorite Marvel characters, creatures, or monsters that you were considering using for this special?
He was really always sort of the main guy, that we thought. There's so many of them to choose from. But in terms of, what would work best for the story, it was always him, and I know that Kevin was a huge fan of ManThing as well. And Kevin really loved, wanted that, as a part of this too. And I agreed with him. I love ManThing. It's one of my favorite comic runs in the whole Marvel catalog, it's beautiful because it's always about, ManThing is about a person. It's not about a monster. It's about a person who is struggling, trying to work through this life that they've been saddled with. And that's very interesting to me and empathetic. And that, more than anything else, I wanted the audience to feel that, to understand that this isn't just a thing, as it's called. It's much more than that. So I was thrilled. I actually got to listen in on Zoom to the audience reaction. Everyone was watching, so it was fun to hear those cheers and the applause for him, and that made me feel really good because I love that character.
Yeah, it was a great experience. Congratulations again, Michael. Fantastic work. I can't wait to watch it again when it hits Disney Plus on October 7th.
Thanks so much. Thank you very much.
You have a great one. Take care. Thank you so much. Honor meeting you. Bye-bye.
Take care.